How's it going, Critter Family? Hope you all are doing well. Today we are going over the infamous video where Tara flips over Bella on her back. This is the fall and rise of Bella and Illusion Horse. So first I want to say thank you. We have reached 1,800 subscribers, 1,800 subscribers. I cannot believe it. It seems like it was just yesterday that I was at 12 subscribers, and I was very grateful with those 12 subscribers. So thank you so much to everyone for the kind words, for the kind support, and even the honest criticism. I always appreciate criticism that's constructive. I appreciate learning from everybody who can give me better tips on things. And I'm always I do keep an open mind when it comes to certain things. A lot of things, especially in the animal world. So I'm not just a closed-minded person, although it may seem like that. I just want anything that we do to benefit the animal. And a lot of times we do, as humans, we do things that do not benefit the animal, as we're going to see here in this video. So with that being said, we're going to get started. First thing I see is a hand reaching for a horse. There's actually a few things I see. We see a hand reaching for a horse's face, going for the eye. We see a dark, dingy, dark stall. I don't like horses being stalled, period, unless there's, if you have an open stall where they can go in and out as they please, and that's fine. If the horse chooses to do that, but if you have to lock them up and close the door and keep them in there that way, I'm not a fan of stalling horses unless they're injured and there's a necessary need for it. Obviously, if it's meant to benefit the horse in some way and the horse needs it, then okay. But I would still prefer the horses to have an open shelter where they can go in as they please and leave as they please, and they can be in pasture and all that stuff. I just don't like stalling horses, but especially not in this dark, dingy area. Then we have a little bit of light peeking out and light out here. So between dark and light, a horse's eyes take, I think, anywhere from 30 seconds to possibly 2 minutes to change. It might be more than that. It might be more than 2 minutes, but at least 2 minutes, I would say, from what from what I remember hearing. That it takes at least, a couple of minutes for their eyes to adjust from dark to light and vice versa, from light to dark. So when you go from dark to light, light to dark, back and forth really quickly, they may stumble. They may have to move their head up and down a little bit. They're going to have trouble focusing on what they need to see. And remember, their pupils are like this. They're horizontal. So when they see something standing up and moving, it catches their eye right away. So their pupils are not round like a human's, where they can, retract and constrict and restrict and, not constrict, restrict, whatever the words I'm trying to say are, where we are able to, as predators, we are able to adjust our eyes in like 30 seconds or so, 20 seconds to 30 seconds. 20 seconds to 30 seconds or so, from light to dark, our eyes are adjusted. But for a horse, it could take anywhere from 2 to possibly 3 minutes for them, or even longer, maybe even 30 minutes. I don't know. I feel like that might have been something that I heard somewhere, that it may take more than 3 minutes. That might take 30 minutes. So if anybody's correcting me in the comments below, then thank you for that. But we're in a dark area and we're going to light area. We also have a hand reaching for the eye. So these are all things that I notice. She moves away because she says, "You're being creepy. You're coming towards my head. I don't want you to." And she's able to move away and get released from his pressure that he's putting on her.
Trying to get Bella to get used to touching.
Kind of puts her ear back a little bit.
Him to touch her. She would go to the back of the stable and not come forward.
So here, this is young Bella as a yearling. Here we have Tara blocking this. Now Tara's in here and we have lights on in here. And we have, hi Ellie, we have little Ellie coming by. So now we have Tara blocking Bella, trapping her inside of the stall. I'm going to mute it so we can play it a little bit while I'm talking. She's backing her into the walls. She's backing her into corners. So now she's distracted because we've got camera person here showing she has to change her vision from paying attention to Tara to now paying attention to the person behind her, the camera person. There's so much pressure going on here while she's just trying to catch her horse and put a halter on. It takes so much work for her to just catch this horse, try to put a lead rope over her. I mean, has this horse never been worked with? Has this just been a wild horse and she's never been worked with until she's been a year? I mean, a yearling I feel like should be able to be, you know, put a halter on pretty easily. But even if she hasn't, say she hasn't been worked, Terry is putting a lot of pressure on her. She's holding on to that pressure while Bella is backing away. Bella's walking in a circle backwards. And a lot of people would say, well, you don't want to let go while they're currently backing away. For me, depending on the situation, I'm going to stop putting pressure on them so they don't feel the need to back away. If I touch them and they back away, next time I'll touch them less so they don't feel the need to back away. I don't want to. It's really difficult to do this when you have your horse in a stall or in a boxed in area. It can be really dangerous because this horse, if they feel trapped enough, they're going to kick or they're going to fight, and you're out of luck. So here, she's been talking while she has her hand on her. I would have removed my hand. If she's not moving backwards, I'm going to remove my hand. She keeps her hand on here, I think, way too long. She puts more pressure by taking a step toward Bella. Bella is leaning away from her. She's leaning into the wall. We got pressure here, and we've got pressure here, and we've got pressure here. And we also got pressure from the camera person pointing their finger, putting their hands inside and showing, whatever camera or phone or whatever, shoving it kind of not directly in Bella's face, but, it's kind of poking out of the corner here. So we've got lots of points of pressure here. She's still holding on to her. She's shifting her weight a little bit. She's still not letting go. And then she takes another step towards her. And she's being really, really sneaky. I feel like if you're going to be direct, then be direct with the rope. Just put it on like it's matter of fact. If she moves, then she moves. Then go back and take it off again and put it back on. Take it off, put it back on. Get her used to the rope. Just kind of, I would be over here just la-di-da with the rope. And then I would slowly work my way over. If she's in the corner, I really don't want to corner her. That's why this is really difficult. This is why I don't like stalling horses or working with horses in tight corners like this, tight quarters, because I don't want to risk this horse blowing up. So instead of taking her hand away and moving away and giving Bella any release of pressure, she continues. She's also staring at her. She's staring at Bella and she continues to move the rope up around her neck. And Bella backs away. She says, too much pressure, and she's going to hold on. She's going to follow her. Now, you could say there's a million ways to catch a horse. Some people might say that she's doing the right thing. Maybe so. Maybe for a couple little steps, I might not move my hand. But for me, I really like to work really slow with the horse, and it might take me an hour to get them haltered. But I'm not in a hurry. I'm on horse time, not on human time. Unless it's an emergency, then you need to plan for that ahead. But so we cut and she got the rope around here. I would have liked to see how she did that. Did she reach with this hand and go under? Or did she reach with her left hand and go under? And did she grab around the horse's neck and start, and act like a human lasso? Because that would make a difference to the horse. If she just reaches this hand under and grabs the rope and brings it around, okay, great. But if she, reaches with both hands and she puts one hand over the neck and one hand under the neck, that's going to be a lot of pressure. She would be facing her body towards Bella, which would put a lot more pressure on her. So I just personally would have liked to see how she did that. Don't cut time for that. If you're going to be showing a training video, then show us all of it, just out of interest. So we can see exactly what the process was. But here she stays. I will say she stays in a mirroring position where she's not facing Bella, which is good. She's standing sideways, which is where I would stand. I would just throw the rope over her, and if she gets spooked and she runs away, then I'm just going to practice doing that again and again and again. But not. I don't know if I would necessarily throw it over her, but I would place it on her back and then slowly move up towards the neck. I'm not going to go straight for the neck, straight for the head, because that's scary. You don't want anybody going for your head and your face and your eyes. So you got to be careful with how you do this. So she goes and gives her a little pat. Now she turns to face her. She starts going for the neck. She's trying to pet her, trying to soothe her, when this is all pressure to a horse. I don't think she's going for the face now. I would have stayed over here and slowly moved this up over that way. But she decided to go over, and now she's facing Bella, and she's putting more pressure on the neck, and going towards the face. Now Bella seems to be accepting this, but now she starts petting the face. I'm not worried about petting the face. I'm not worried about getting my snuggles in. I just want this horse to be, I would be worried about putting this rope over the horse's back and taking it off, putting it on the back and taking it off, and working our way up the neck. I'm not worried about this petting and touching. She flinched there. So she's worried about going forward. She has a mission now. So because Bella flinched a second ago, she says, I'm going to keep my hand here longer. That's, to me, that's the wrong answer. You cause a horse to flinch in the first place. Work your way, start over at the neck, and then, and work your way back up to the face. Don't just sit there on the face longer because she flinched. A lot of people would do exactly what Tara's doing. So I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying I wouldn't do it. I don't like this whole, oh, you told me no, I'm going to make it 10 times more work for you because you told me no. An animal gets to tell me no. They can tell me I don't like this, and they can move their head away or their hand away. Well, they can move their head away from my hand. And I will say, okay, I'm going to go back to a spot where you're more comfortable, and I'm going to slowly work my way up to your face. But on a day like this, I'm not worried about touching the face. I'm just worried about getting the rope around her neck and getting her comfortable with me, having a rope around her neck or around her back, or eventually you're going to put the halter on so you can put, your hands are going to be near her face, but I'm not worried about petting her. So she holds it there. I would have removed it a second later. So she doesn't show the process of what happened after that. I want to see the whole process to see how long she holds her hand there. A lot of people might not be interested in that, but I am. Obviously, it's too late now because she's already been trained and whatnot. So now she gives her a break. She gives her a little bit of release of pressure. She goes to pat her, and she moves away. So that was too much pressure. So now she's going to follow her, and she's going to try rubbing her. And she's still putting pressure on Bella. And Bella says, I don't like this. I'm backing away. She's walking backwards. She's paying attention to Tara as well as the camera person. If she wanted to kick the gate right here, she could. She's putting all her ears and eyes. She's dividing her attention between the camera person who's behind her and Tara. But Tara just has to go and pet. She has to get that win. That she pet her and the horse moved away, so she has to win that. For me, I get progress with horses without doing that, without keeping up pressure, because then they learn if they move away that you don't, they don't. If you keep petting them, when they move away, you don't stop until they stop. That is a way you can, a lot of people train horses. I don't. I work to, okay, I pet you and you moved away. Next time I'm going to work less. I'm going to not even put my hand on you. I'm going to put my hand next to you. If you move away, I'll do it less next time. Where I'm just going to put my hand close to you, somewhat near you, but I'm just going to move my hand a little bit. I'm going to do that for a little bit. And then I'm going to get a little bit closer to you and a little bit closer, and I'll touch you just barely with the back of my hand. And then I'll stroke you with the back of my hand. And then the next step will be, A, B, and C, and all the way through Z, where I'm touching you and I'm stroking you and I'm petting you. But for me, if a horse moves away, that tells me I just worked too fast. I'm not going to keep my hand on them until they stop, because I feel like that's just too much unnecessary pressure. And again, that's just how I work. I'm not saying you're wrong for doing it the way that everybody else does. Now here, if you're going to have the halter and you're going to be putting the halter on, it looks like she probably has a clip that she puts on the halter. I would have, I like it's a rope halter. I love the green color. I'm a big fan of this lime green color. But I would have the halter already hooked up to, I would have the lead rope already hooked up to the halter. Because for me, I use a piece of sail line in sail rope, and so I have it already looped in there because it's rope on rope. I don't use a clip, so I use a rope on rope connection with the rope halter. So I would already have that on there, and then I would just get her used to me just putting on her little nose and then taking it off, and that's just the way I would work. If hopefully she would be used to having a halter on if she's already a year old, and people would get her used to it before now, but apparently they haven't, because this seems like the first time she's ever had a halter on. So she puts it on, she holds it,
to you.
All right, sorry I had to kick Ellie out. She was sitting on top of Pinky again. But if it were me, you can put the halter on and leave it on, and that's fine. I might go the extra route, and I might be doing a lot extra. Depending on the horse and how freaked out they are, I would put it on, maybe hold it, and then I would take it off. But if I need to move a horse, then I would just put it on, just tie it on, and then they would be okay. So it seems like this is not the first time she's had a halter on, but, horses don't like being haltered. They don't like being controlled. They want to be free. So anything that traps them, and I would also be very careful about how I'm working with this horse, having them in a trap point like this, where the only way forward is this way, or they're going to run over me. So this whole situation isn't ideal, but I think I'll give Tara, benefit of the doubt and say that she's doing the best that she can in the situation that she's given, or that she set herself up for. So I like that she tucks it into the throat latch. You don't need to have this, you don't need to have this big old knot. Just tuck it in there and it'll be fine. But she makes an extra knot, so that I don't like. I'm just not a fan of that. And then she's very sneaky when she's pulling this rope over. I would have just slid it down. And if the horse kind of bobs their head up, then I would just say, okay, I would just sit there for a second, let them figure it out. And then I would, attach my rope. But my rope, for me, would already be attached, because I don't use clips. Because I don't like metal clips, much like a lot of other, horse people out there that don't like metal clips. So there's, a large majority who do use metal clips at the end of their lead ropes, because as other people have said, I'm not the first to say it, metal clips are easy to break. It's really easy for this to swing up accidentally or on purpose and hit the horse in the face or under the chin or under the, on the jaw, or God forbid in the eye. This halter also looks a bit big for Bella, but maybe that's just me. But I'm not a fan of metal clips. It's not the strongest point of a connection between the lead rope and the rope halter. So now to get her out, they use some beet pulp. When really, I think, so there's 3 people here now. So we've got camera person, then we've got Tara wearing gloves, which is a red flag number 562. But really big red flag, because she doesn't know how to let go of the rope to not get rope burn, or she's going to have a death grip on this rope. So what I would do is I would just stand out here at the end of the rope, keep a little bit of very light tension on it so that, it's not dragging on the floor. I would get him out of the way. I would be out of the way. I wouldn't have the camera person in the way, and I would stand over here on the side, and I would let the horse come out on their own. I'm very patient. I don't mind taking time to let a horse come out on her own. I don't think you need to create this draw for her. I don't think you need to bribe her. I'm all for using treats with animals, including horses. But right now, I would just stand over here and just let her come out on her own. And now she starts tugging on her. I'm not going to be tugging on a horse and teaching them that they can see this halter is way too big. But I'm not going to start getting into a fight with a horse and playing tug of war and teaching the horse that if they stand there, that they can win. They can outpull the human, because I don't want them to learn to start dragging the human around. So I would just stand here. I'm not going to pull on her. I'm going to let her come out on her own. So she's doing right here. What she's doing right here, just stay here, get your husband out of the way. And he's just doing what he's been told. I'm sure she's telling him, hey, help me and do this. I would just stand there and let her come out on her own. I've said that 5 times by now, but if you really wanted to, then you can put this little bucket on the ground out here and leave it there, and don't have somebody holding it. Put it there, and if she wants to come out and nibble on it, then she certainly can nibble on it, and that can be her reward for allowing me to come into her stall and haltering her. And yes, like I said, horses have the right to give me a yes and no. Now, depending on the type of no they give me, if they threaten the butt to me, I'm gonna take that as, no, we're not gonna do that kind of thing. I'm not gonna take threats. I'm not going to take threats as a no, but you can give me a light no and say, hey, you're putting too much pressure on me, and I will adjust my training accordingly. Don't be tugging on her. So now we got too many signals going on. She's confused. And she's learning that when you pull on her, that if she stands there, then you stop pulling on her. So she's learning to ignore any bit of pressure as a cue. And we got him over here. Renz, I think is his name. with some grain or beet pulp. She goes to pet. She doesn't want to pet because she doesn't care about petting. He's putting more pressure on her. She's putting pressure on her. She's trying to drag her out. So either lead her out, either drag her the whole way out, which you're not going to get. This halter is huge on her. Either drag her all the way out and do it that way, which you're going to get into a fight, or lead her out without dragging her, or let her come out on her own. But be consistent. This is just like 3 different methods in the same, moment. Okay, perfect. Stand right there. Leave the horse alone. Get him out of the way to stand over here, and little Bella will come out all on her own. Let her. She's sniffing, and then she comes back, and she can't stand not being in this horse's face. Which I get it. It's easy to get over your head when you're working with an animal and you want to work too quick and you want to work on human time and you're so excited that, oh, she's making a step in progress, and then you go and you take 3 steps back. If she had stayed there, Bella would have sniffed. She would have adjusted her eyesight to the lighting from the dark area to the light, and then I'm sure she would have walked out. But no, now she's going to back her in. She's going to back her and correct her and then try to drag her out. And then there was a cut there. So what happened in that cut? I really want to see, so I can see, not to continue criticizing, but I just want to see, I'm using this as a way to educate people, and I'm by no means a good horse trainer. I just work with horses. I don't call myself a trainer by any means. I just work with some horses that I know, and I feel comfortable with. I'm not out there charging people to do any of this, and I'm just trying to use this as an example of, here's a different way that you can do things versus how Tara is doing things. Now, Tara gets results, but how she gets those results are the important part. So there's a big question between that gap of when Bella was in the stall and when she's out of the stall now. And we see she's coming out because now Tara is being quiet. She's still kind of in the way of the horse. She's still standing in front of the horse. I would stand over here out of the way and let the horse come out on her own. I might move this out of the way because now this could be some kind of a tripping hazard, or she can get her halter caught on it. I'll probably move that out of the way because that's not necessary. But now Tara's doing fine. But of course she has to. Okay, I thought she was going to try and pet her. She didn't. I thought she was going to go and pet her because I was going to say she just has to pet her, but she didn't. So now she gets a little reward. And they're going to move it out of the way, and now they're going to walk. And now Bella's probably going to sniff, and she might snort because she's not so used to it. Her feet look a little bit long. Bella's feet look a little long. Maybe that's just... No, they look long to me. If people are really good at looking at feet in the comments, let me know if her feet do look long or if I'm just crazy. But they look like she could use a trim. Okay, so here we're moving. We don't need this beet pulp anymore. We don't need Mr. Man over here adding more stress to the horse. We're walking. So Bella stops and she applies pressure. If a horse stops when I'm walking with him, I'm going to stop with them. Just like with my dogs. When I'm working with dogs, and and they stop to look at something, if they're a fearful dog or they're not used to walking on leash, I'm going to stop with them. And we are going to, it says it's 1080, but this is like shot on a potato. Sorry, anyway. If a fearful dog stops and looks at something, then I'm going to stop and look at it with them. And I'm going to just wait for them to move on. If I have a puppy that doesn't want to walk, this is a yearling of a horse. If I have a young dog or a young puppy that doesn't want to walk, then I'm going to sit there with them until they decide they want to move forward. And if they don't, and we've been at it for 20 or 30 minutes, then we're going to start heading backwards. We're going to head home. And by then, usually the dog is pulling to get home, but we're going to make sure we walk nicely to get home. But here, she just applies a little bit of pressure and a little bit of pressure, nagging. She's about to get spooked here. More pressure. Just stand there. Loosen your lead. Give her a little more lead. Give her a little bit more rope. Not enough rope to hang herself or hurt herself with, as we're going to see here in a minute. But just give her a moment to figure things out. So then she pulls. She freaks out because Tara was pulling back on her. If she had just, and that's where she's probably going to get some rope burn, if she'd either let go of the rope or if she had been walking on this side of the horse instead of that side, I mean, things may have worked out differently. Like Bella, we didn't know which way she was going to turn, or maybe you guys can see that ahead of time. which way she was going to turn. But she got scared. But because she has such a um, tight grip on her, and she pulls back when she starts turning this way, she turns and ends up on her back feet because right here, Bella is holding her back, and instead of allowing her to just move this way, I think this was just a lot, and she got spooked, and she turns and she pulls back on her, and so she ends up flipping over onto her back, and this could equal this could equal a lot of her troubles now. You know, maybe she hurt herself doing this, and she has, maybe that's why she might be lame now, or why she has, you know, such a hollow back, aside from the years of being ridden by Tara, in my opinion, too early, and by just an incompetent rider. But great, so now she seems stunned. Remember, her eyes are probably still adjusting from the shadows to the light, and the sun could be right in her eyes. So maybe she saw something that spooked her. I don't know. But you want to be, instead of pulling back on her, I would follow her head. You know, so over here, as she's pulling, instead of pulling this way and being ahead of the horse, I would be on the side of the horse right here. I like to be right next to the horse. I mean, not right next to them, but I like to be more at their shoulder than ahead of them. So instead of her pulling on her, if she had followed her and not fought that, then Bella would have been able to turn around, and she would have been able to keep all 4 feet on the floor. She would have been able to, even if she did rear up a little bit, if she had loosened her rope, I mean, she still has her on a very short rope. If she had given her a little bit more slack, then she would have been able to go back down. If she did rear, I mean, the reason why she did rear, I think, is because she feels this tension and she's fighting it. So if she had been able to just turn regularly and run, and Tara had followed her or given her more rope, then this wouldn't have happened. And she still could have stopped her because she has control of the head. If you control the head, you control the body. So if, you know, if she hadn't locked up here, and a lot of times, I mean, like, you kind of go into fetal position when you panic. You know, you stay still. You want to be able to move your feet along with your horse. If your horse is moving, you're moving with them. This is not the time when you want to stand still and just let your horse move away on their own. Because this is what happens. When you're stationary and the horse is flipping.
A little slippy as well, but it's mostly that she's...
I mean, she could have broken her tailbone.
She falls.
She could have hurt her hip.
We've seen Farouk and Apollo fall. She's unhurt and is quickly back on her feet.
And of course, horses are going to, you know, horses do fall. Yes, they fall, but they fall when they're, you know, when there's people not involved. When a person is involved, when you're tied to a horse, you cause this horse to fall like this. She could have injured herself. Luckily, she didn't, but she may have lasting effects from this in the future, to where now she still has that issue of where she's sore, she's still lame, or maybe, you know, I mean, alone from having been ridden so early, in my opinion, from an incompetent rider, even a competent rider, I still think Bella started riding too early, before the rest of her body grew into herself. But when a human is involved, I mean, horses slip and fall in pasture all the time, but they're not being tethered. You know, they're not falling straight on their back like that. You know, a lot of times they'll slip and fall on their side, but they're not being counterweighted by a person who causes this by pulling and ripping on their face while they're trying to get away from something. If she's going to be looking at something and spooking, then you would be able to follow her. But she didn't follow her. She follows over. There's a really hard noise that you know, that Bella makes as she hits the ground, because she fell down from her, you know, from the back of her feet onto her back. So, poor little thing. Even so, I'm glad that she's okay. But, you know, even if a horse falls and breaks their leg, they will still stand up and act as if they're totally fine, they're okay, and there's nothing going wrong, because they're a horse. That's how they survive. They don't want anybody to know that they're hurt or they're injured. You know, they're a prey animal. They have to show that they are strong and they can survive, even with a broken leg. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below. But that does it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys got something from this. Go say howdy do to your little critters. Say howdy do for me. Give them some kind of love and they appreciate. Until next time, practice peace, patience, and positivity.